Star Wars is back again. Star Wars is fun again. To the toxic so-called Star Wars fans who are bashing on this film before even seeing the film, I say, shut up. Nobody's listening to you. Hey, what's going on, folks? Chris from Cinema Hooked, and today I'm here to talk full spoilers of Mandalorian and Grogu. But I will just say before I hop right into full spoilers that, hey, if you want to know if you should see this movie or not, you were on the fence, go see it. I promise you, it's a fun movie. I don't get free tickets. I don't get paid by Disney. I'm not a writer for Rotten Tomatoes. I have no reason to lie to you about this movie. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, as you can tell from all the posters, from my Mando bucket, from my shirt to my closet full of shirts. I love Star Wars, and this was a fun movie. So if you're on the fence, go see it. You're gonna have fun. And if you've got kids, take them, because they're gonna love it. Also, real quickly, before I hop right into full spoilers, I would just ask if you love Star Wars like I do, or sci-fi or horror. I think you might like my channel, so hit that sub button, hit that little like button, and let's get into The Mandalorian and Grogu, because this is a project we heard about a while ago. And when it first got announced, we're like, I know I was partly negative too. And I was like, oh man, it could have been a fourth season. They're just turning a fourth season into a movie. Like, it's just gonna feel like a TV show in a movie theater, which sadly there are people saying that, but it's the laziest of lazy takes, because it was a film. It was a movie. It felt cinematic. It looked cinematic. It sounded cinematic with Ludwig Van Gorenson? I think that's his name. I think I said it right. Great score. That was one of the things that stood out for me, was the score. Like the remixes of the Mandalorian theme, some new original tracks. It was really great. So the score really stood out for me. But another thing that really stood out was just how much of it looked like a movie, which it should. It's a movie. I know this is getting like a little bit techno, but it's like the color grading was really great. The camera work, the cinematography, like all that stuff was really good. And then the world building, all the new alien species that we see, which there are a lot. We see a lot of them. We visit multiple planets, and it's just, it was really cool. It didn't feel like a TV show. Not to me at least. I know this full spoiler talk, it might get a little jumbled. I'm gonna try and kind of move through the movie chronologically, and then I'll probably go off on tangents talking about a little thing here or there. But starting off, I don't know exactly what planet they were on, but I mean, it looked like Hoth. It could have been Hoth, it might have been Hoth, but I'm not 100% sure. But that whole action sequence was great. We got a little bit of Grogu, but we got Mando being just a total just BA. So hopefully you know what BA is. Trying not to curse on this channel, but just, got the flamethrower going. That was how, hits the flamethrower, which engulfs the guys in flames, and then he shoots the one guy with his blaster. Super cool. Loved the action. And then we've got the sequence with the AT-ATs. That was really good, really exciting. Explosions, falling off the mountainside. Super cool. Mando doing Mando things. Oh, and I love that this is the full spoiler video, because I did a non-spoiler video and that was a lot of fun, but I couldn't talk about all these little details. But when he's in that last AT-AT, because the guy gets away in kind of that escape pod that was in the AT-AT, there's all those bombs that were triggered, and then doop 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 doop, and Grogu's like, hey, 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 got that one. I thought that was hilarious. I don't mind this, and I haven't seen this complaint out there, but I'm sure it won't be long before I see this complaint. But Grogu's kind of like Star Wars' Groot. Like, there's multiple moments in this film where I'm like, oh, this is totally Groot right now. And that's totally fine, because who doesn't love Groot? But yeah, him banging on Mando's bucket, I thought that was hilarious. It was super cute. The kids in the audience were just eating this stuff up. And if you were wondering, like, is it kid friendly? Well, if you're watching this, you saw it. So you know if it's kid friendly or not, because we're talking full spoiler. So hopefully you didn't miss the spoiler warning, because I don't want to spoil this for you. That was a really cool sequence. Then he flies back to that New Republic base, and we finally get to see Sigourney Weaver's character, who she was really cool in this movie. Not a ton of screen time, but it was cool seeing Sigourney Weaver. She looked awesome in the pilot suit. Thought that was really cool. Gets that bounty for a faceless person who was with the Empire, knows Imperial secrets and all that sort of stuff. And, he accepts a mission, which he gets a new Razor Crest. I thought that was awesome. Gets a new Razor Crest because I think I speak for all Mandalorian fans and fans of that show. That ship was awesome. I liked the Naboo ship that he got, I believe, at the end of season 2. That was a really cool ship, but it was small. It wasn't real practical for the things that he does. He can't carry a lot of gear, stuff like that. So getting the Razor Crest back, that was really cool. Kind of talking about the whole movie as a whole, I really thought there'd be a moment where he unscrewed the that little lever that Grogu liked to play with in season 1, and then that he gave him when he gives him to Luke. Like, he always had that little metal ball with him from the ship. But yeah, I just loved it. So we go to Nal Hutta, which that was a cool planet. It was giving Dagobah. Cool planet, swamps, seeing all the Hutts, totally disgusting creatures, really disgusting race of people. And he's walking by each room, and I don't know if they were just resting, getting massaged. It looked weird. And then they're basically just letting them through. The guards are stepping away because he was invited from the Hutts. And it is Jabba the Hutt's, I don't know if it's Jabba the Hutt's brother or if it's his sister and then his wife or her husband, but related to Jabba the Hutt. And they need Mando for the New Republic. They need that Imperial information from the Faceless guy. And so he accepts the contract to where, hey, you save Rada the Hutt, our nephew, Jabba's son, and you bring him back, and we'll let you know where you can find that Imperial person. Goes to that planet. And that's when this movie, I was like, yes, this is awesome. This is actually really good. I'm loving this. First thing Mando and Grogu do when they get to this planet is go to this little food shack place where there's an Ardenian. And that whole sequence, it was funny. And the alien was really cool. It was an Ardenian who we saw, not the same one, but same species that we saw in Solo, a Star Wars story. And I didn't know, I couldn't place the voice. I was like, who? I feel like I know who this is. And if you didn't know, I'll tell you now, it was Martin Scorsese, which I thought was really funny. I thought it was good. And it's now that I know it, I was like, oh yeah, I can see that now. That was totally Martin Scorsese. I am surprised that he would do such a film because I feel like Star Wars, it kind of falls under the same umbrella as kind of superhero movies and stuff like that. And he's very those aren't art. They don't count as real films. So I'm surprised he took even though it was just a voice. I don't even know if he did a mocap. Might just be a voice, I should say. I was kind of surprised that he would do a Star Wars movie because he's usually too pretentious for such a thing. He's made some great films, but sometimes his opinions are just ugh. Gets the information he needs from the Ardenian, and that's when we meet Rada the Hutt, voiced by Jeremy Allen White, who I didn't know that he was voicing Rada the Hutt. I saw his name appear in the opening credits when they're at that New Republic base. I was like, oh, Jeremy Allen White. I didn't know he was in this. So the whole time I was like, ooh, maybe he's the bad guy, the faceless guy that we don't know who he's hunting. Maybe he's the Imperial guy. But no, it was Rada the Hutt. So it was just a voice acting gig, but I thought he did a really good job, and Rada the Hutt made him this character with depth and emotions, and it made you care about him. And I was like, dude, when are they going to start coming out with the Rada the Hutt t-shirts? Because I want Rada the Hutt merchandise. So Star Wars, if you hear this, which you won't, but it'd be cool if you did, but you won't. I want a Rada the Hutt t-shirt. Then we get a little build up, a little build up, a little build up. We get the big arena fight with all the different most lethal aliens across the galaxy that this Imperial, criminal crime lord guy had captured and put into this arena because while Rada the Hutt thinks he's about to be clear of that contract, no, I'm going to have you killed in your final fight. But him and Mando teaming up, that was really cool. This movie had a lot of action. It had great action sequences. I thought that they were really exciting. They weren't too graphic, so I didn't hear any kids, crying or anything like that. It was a lot of fun. The alien creatures were really cool. One thing about this movie I really appreciated that I think I was kind of worried about was that maybe the CGI would look clunky. Maybe it would look like TV budget CGI, but no, it looked great. Like, if the Mandalorian show didn't exist, and this was just its own standalone movie, like, hey, we're introducing this new character. He's got this little force-sensitive guy that kind of looks like Yoda. It's going to be this cool. I think people are like, whoa, that sounds like a cool Star Wars movie. But because it was a show, people were like, oh, it just feels like it should have been season 4, which again is such a lazy take. They break out of the arena, and then Rada turns his back on Mando, which nothing wrong with it, but he wanted to be free. He didn't want to go back to his aunt and uncle because basically they want him, unalived so they can take over Jabba the Hutt's criminal empire, because technically Rada the Hutt should be the one that inherits that, crime organization. He doesn't want it, but if he goes back there, they're definitely going to, get rid of him. But Mando being Mando, and then Zeb. I didn't even mention Zeb. I haven't mentioned Zeb yet. Getting Zeb from Rebels, which we got a little tease of it in late season 2 of Mandalorian, or maybe it was early season 3, can't remember. But we got Zeb, and that was really cool. The CGI on him is awesome. I love the voice. I'm pretty sure it's the same voice actor from the animated series. But seeing him was cool. He's not in the movie a lot, but the moments that he is in the movie are really cool. They end up capturing Rada, and they decide to let him go because he gives them information. That guy that was running the fights, that's actually the guy who's the Imperial crime lord that they were looking for. So that whole thing was cool. Taking that guy in, and okay, so this was one of my favorite parts of the movie. I was wondering if he was going to say the line. I'm going to do my best impersonation of it. But, there's music, there's tense music, and then it's just silent. It's I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold. Actually, you know what? Better yet, let's see if this makes it better or if the audio's crap because it's on. I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold.
I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold.
Let me know in the comments. How's my Din Djarin voice? I'm not saying that line is as iconic as Arnold Schwarzenegger's I'll be back. But I mean, it's so synonymous with The Mandalorian. I mean, I think it's like the first thing he says when season 1, the first episode comes out, and he says that line in that little cantina bar, collecting that first bounty we see. Such a cool line, and I just loved it. I loved it. Since I'm on the subject of Mando, I gotta bring up how in the top billing, like when the credits roll, I think it was when the credits roll, or maybe it's at the beginning of the movie, but they list the 2 stunt performers who are in the Mando suit for most of the movie, because Pedro Pascal's in it kind of minimally, but Brendan Wayne and Lateef Crowder, they're like listed in the top billing, and that's so cool because it deserves that acknowledgement. Like, the movie's not the same without that stunt coordination of Din Djarin. Like, they do an amazing job. So I thought that was really cool by Disney, by Lucasfilm, by the production to give those guys the credit they deserve. They do an awesome job. They did an awesome job in the Mando series. So really cool that they got that sort of credit. Now, after the whole, I can bring you in warm or bring you in cold, now they got to get the guy out of his kind of compound. They got to get him to the ship where Grogu and Rada are just taking a nap. And this was when the whole Groot thing really popped into my head. It wasn't so much with the knocking on the helmet to start the movie. It was more this sequence that made me think of Groot. But, he's like, hey, I need you to fire up the thrusters, whatever. And he's like, it's going to be, on the left console next to the da-da-da-da-da thing. The buttons I told you not to push. And he flicks up the red switch, hits the thing, psh, missile, boom. Me and the rest of the theater are all cracking up. I'm all, that's hilarious. He's like, no, those are the weapons. That's why it's got the safety cover over the switch. He's like, I need you to look to the left panel and the whatever button. And he's like, let me lift up this other safety cover on this switch. Hit that one. Another missile. Again. We're all just hysterically laughing. It's adorable, it's hilarious, and I'm having a blast in the theater. So they end up going to Navarro. He gets away to smuggle Rada off of the planet. And he's like, hey, keep a low profile. You might have to jump around planet to planet to try to avoid your aunt and uncle. But, thanks for the information that you gave me. And, good luck to you. And that's when, he has the Anzellans come up, Babu Freak, like, hey!
Remember, go black. Oh, black.
Those guys were hilarious. It's super silly, but I feel like I'd watch a movie with those guys. Like, it could be funny. Or even if it's just like a holiday special with Grogu and the Anzellans and Babu Freak. I think that could be really funny. Those guys are hilarious. That's when it gets to that rainy night scene, and then we get the live action introduction to Embo, who, if you watched the Clone Wars and you saw that he was going to be in this movie in the trailers, you're like, oh, yes. One thing I'm not disappointed by, but one thing I wanted to see that we'd seen in the Clone Wars, and can't remember what planet they were on. It was an episode where like Anakin's protecting Padme, but she needs to get information from this other political guy or some rich guy. But he's like going down these snowy slopes and he's like riding that like helmet that he wears. Really cool to see him in live action. That whole sequence was really cool. Gets Mando caught up in that net, electrified, takes him to the Hutts because, hey, here's the guy that betrayed you. Sadly to find out that they captured Rada, which I'm not exactly sure how they did. I think when they were on, Embo was on Navarro, so he saw that Rada was there, and he probably knew about the bounty on Rada from his aunt and uncle. So that's how he got captured, was Embo. So they're back in Nal Hutta. Rada's captured, and he's just hooked up to this like torture chair device, just getting zapped in the brain. And they're like, yeah, he's just going to suffer like this for hundreds of years. If you had just brought him to us the way you were supposed to, it would have been a quick unaliving. But sadly, no. And then, he wants to fight. They take his helmet off, which is cool because I want to see Pedro Pascal's face. It's always cool to see him. But the way that, the uncle was just shaming him, was like, oh, I've shamed you because I've taken it off. And then he makes that line, oh, not if I, all of you. Sorry, I don't want to say certain words because on YouTube they're very strict and I don't want to get shadow banned. So apologies, I would say the word, but I don't want to get banned. When they throw him down into that pit, and he's fighting those creatures, like, that was really cool. I thought that was awesome looking. But then we get I think they called it a dragon snake, this albino, just ginormous basilisk sized snake with the head of a dragon. That was cool. That was a really cool sequence. And then we also have, Grogu and the Babu Freak people go, ooh, big tunnel. I don't have that voice down perfectly yet, but God, those guys are hilarious. They break him out, they survive, they take him to the ship to get off world, but then, is that, tiny ship that I could fit like 20 of them in this studio. He can't fit, so he's like, you guys go ahead. He goes off, he falls because he's poisoned, to which, the Hutts, they told him like, oh, you may have survived, but you're going to die from the poison. So thanks for the entertainment. Basically, he's dying. And Grogu nurses him back to health, basically. He meets that little friend who's fishing on the river, which I thought that little sequence was cool, beating that new character. The voice sounded familiar. I need to look up who that was because it sounded very familiar. But makes him up this little medicine. He gives it to him. And Grogu making that little like covering. First, he covers him in the bushes and shrubs, which that was really cute and it was funny. But then he builds him kind of that enclosure. It kind of looks like a root of the tree. And when he's force pushing him in there, like, dong, dong, dong. It was silly, but it was really funny. It worked. I loved it. He gets nursed back to health, and that's when we get all of the awesomeness. More great action sequences. He takes that big, huge freighter gun runner, gets all the bombs, the guns, gets all that stuff, loads up, crashes it right into their little swampy palace, and just takes out everybody, taking down those robots and then taking out the Hutts because, hey, they saw his face. They took off his helmet. They unmasked him. They can't live. So, takes care of business. Somebody, might have been the little Babu Freak guys. They called in reinforcements, and then you got the New Republic fleet coming in, big bombs, super awesome. That whole place just crumbles. They jump into that swamp, which was really cool. It was really cool. They end up back at that New Republic base. Him and Rada have a kind of a final farewell. And again, Jeremy Allen White did a great job voicing the character. Obviously, they used all sorts of modulators and stuff to like manipulate his voice to make it sound all bassy and deep the way it was. But I don't know. I just really liked Rada. I thought it was a character you really cared about. It could have just been silly. It could have been stupid. But I think it was actually really good. And it's a character, actually, I hope we see him in some form, whether it's a nod to him in the Ahsoka show or maybe he pops up in another animation show. But it was a really cool character, and I'm telling you, if I see like Roosevelt or Heroes and Villains, if they come out with like a Rod of the Hutt shirt, like I'm buying that. So we get a nice, neatly wrapped ending. It was a fun movie. Lots of action. It looked cool. It sounded great. Jon Favreau did a great job directing it, to which I never should have been worried about this movie because Jon's a great director. He's great. He's never really directed anything bad, and he loves Star Wars. And I love it when passionate people work on Star Wars. And Dave Filoni, he had to give himself a couple little scenes in this movie. I think the way the film did like end with him saying like, hey, it's your turn, and Grogu hitting the button to go into light speed, like that was super cool. It's cute. I really liked it. Oh, right before that though, when they're back at that New Republic base, and this was the part that got the audience just to laugh a lot. But Sigourney Weaver's addressing them and talking about, you know, doing something to try and make sure he gets paid for all the hard work that he did. And Grogu's just down there and the camera's like, and just does the little salute. And this little girl in the audience just, aww. And me and everybody else were just chuckling because it was like the cutest reaction from a little kid in the theater. It wasn't annoying. It was just really awesome that there were kids in the theater. That's like this whole new generation of kids are gonna be like, I love Star Wars. It's really cool. And as a Star Wars fan, I love seeing that. I love it when people can be positive, when people can have fun. And like I started this video out with, those toxic people that are wanting to bash on this film because they deep down, they want people to be as miserable as them. But sorry, some of us are just real Star Wars fans and we like it. We like Star Wars. It's fun. It's okay to be fun. It's okay to have a lighthearted movie. Yes, it was lighthearted, but there were awesome fights, great action sequences. There was a good amount of humor. It had so much going for it. Really loved it. I only gave it a 6 out of 10. I mean, because at the end of the day, it wasn't mind-blowing. It didn't change the game. But, you know, good direction, had a great score. The world building was awesome. The story was good. It wasn't like, it wasn't a Nolan film where I'm trying to like, oh my God, that story is so complex. Like, oh, the way it had that huge twist. And, you know, it's not going to blow your mind. So, 6 out of 10. But it's fun, and I loved it. I had a great experience. And so while it might be a 6 out of 10, the entertainment value, if it's just strictly entertainment value, easily an 8 out of 10. If you just want to go strictly how much did I enjoy this film, it's getting an 8 out of 10. If we're taking all the technicals and the story, how good was it, yeah, it's a 6 out of 10. But just enjoyment level, and that, you know, audience score on Rotten Tomatoes is in the high 80s, I think. Because it's a fun movie. People had fun. Sorry, toxic Star Wars fans. We had a good time. I hope that makes you miserable. But that's it. Those are my full spoiler thoughts. You know, I recorded my video last night after I saw the movie. This is going to be uploaded on Saturday, so 2 nights ago when you see this. But I wanted to talk spoilers, but it was a brand new movie. I wanted to give it a couple days to breathe. Holiday weekend, I expect tons of people are gonna go see this. But if you watch this video, I thank you for making it this long in the video. And if you love Star Wars the way I do, I'd love it if you hit that subscribe button down there. Hit that little like button like the sign there says. I'm going to Star Wars Celebration next April, and I'm gonna be filming all of the things, whether it's panels, cosplayers. I hope to do kind of like interview style stuff with people. I think that'll be really cool. Still trying to figure out my cosplay, but I'm just a huge Star Wars fan. So if you're looking for a fresh new creator who loves Star Wars as much as you do, I think this is the place for you. So until next time, I'll catch you in the comments hopefully, and I'll see you on the next review. Bye.